Hey, Al, Craig. Ever get the feeling you're in a science fiction movie? I swear, it's getting to feel like that. It's like, how many times have we seen this one before? Oh, some horrible disease strikes the world. Everyone's scared for their lives. So many of these movies, it, you know, how come they never have the science fiction movies where it's like, oh, we just keep going along a merry way and things keep getting better and better and people live longer and are healthier and wow, you know, we've reached to the stars. How come we don't tell that story? Maybe it's because the people that write the stories are nuts. It is kind of funny if you think about it. Science fiction, one of my favorite TV series, then movies, Star Trek. Gene Roddenberry, socialist. It's the whole concept, right? No money. We went through the bad times, we came through it, and we know better now, and we're worthy to travel throughout the universe, so says the Vulcans. It always seems to be some kind of message like that. It's like, oh, there had to be some horrible, thing that happened because, God, we were so awful. We're not awful. I mean, man, humanity's a hot mess, I know, but look how far we've come. Okay, consider the United States of America, right here. The Constitution developed, hard to develop. I mean, you've got, the colonies did not necessarily agree with each other, but, you think the South was very powerful back then, very close to England. It was the economy. I mean, the Northeast didn't have the Industrial Revolution yet or anything like that. And of course, the South had slaves, and so I think although the fathers of our country had hoped to eventually abolish slavery, that was not even in the cards at that point in time. It was so typical everywhere. I mean, slavery was all over the world. And again, it was kind of the British had pushed that in a big way, and that was British colonies down there, and until, we declared our independence. So we're, as the world has gone, the United States has been the most fertile ground for a great future. This is a country that allows individuals to grow as far as they're willing to push themselves. That's why people from all over the world want to move here. That's, people from Africa want to move here. But people from everywhere want to move here because, yeah, you can make a lot of money. Or you can make a good home. Obviously, it takes very special people to reach the highest heights. I mean, it's stuff that most of us aren't made out of. But most people have enough ambition to get along really well, and especially if things are fair. As as promised to us by the Constitution and by our basic sets of laws and rules. If you can navigate that, and it's fairly straightforward, and you've got a decent idea, you might be able to do something. I've tried several times. I've had businesses that worked and some that didn't work, and I've lost my butt, and I've been through all kinds of different things. But as you try, you can move forward. That's the beauty. In a lot of places, you're stuck. Think if you're born in China. And you're not part of the ruling clan, you're just assigned basically what to do. I mean, the state owns you, kind of. You can try to compete in different ways, but when it comes down to it, boy, you don't get much help out of anybody. You're just kind of there to turn the wheel, which is the way communism tends to work, right? It's one of those things where eventually it's the leaders and everyone else. And obviously to get to that point, people don't just relinquish their property and their wealth. So a lot of bad things happen on the path to unhappy citizenship every time, right? I mean, there's some socialism experiments like India or England, that eventually they gave up on, but it didn't turn out horrible like the USSR or China or Cuba or Venezuela or so many other attempts. But it never really works out great. But it's funny, again, in science fiction, that's kind of the solution that they foresee. Again, it's fiction. It's writers. It's intellectuals that are in love with this concept. But it never has really amounted to anything. I don't understand their appeal. But I guess I'm not alone, because these folks that have wanted to push socialism, Marxists, stuff like that, they know they couldn't win an election coming out and saying, I mean, Bernie Sanders pushed it pretty hard. But in the end, it was sort of like, let's get rid of Bernie and we'll pull up this husk called Joe. Although now it looks like the Democrats are just going to go fully socialist anyway. They're pushing that so hard now. It's weird. The liberals have been completely annihilated, I guess. You see these people have been there for so long. I mean, like Pelosi or Schumer or any of them. I mean, they look like fossils. And their minds are going. I mean, they really, they stammer, and you're just like, oh man, their family should look out for them. But it would be funny if they weren't so damn dangerous, right? So you've got the left that's been taken over by maybe the same intellectuals that write our science fiction. That believe that that's the way to salvation, even though it never works. And I guess with the coming of Trump, these people, they've been slowly filling the government for years and years. The people that believe in these kind of principles. Let me back up a tiny bit by saying this. There's a lot of different visions, kind of a similar goal, but different arrows to get there, okay? And I don't think all the arrows are going to merge, because you've got different people, different points of view, pushing kind of radical agendas right now. So, take for instance, I was just talking about the Democrats and wondering what in the world. That's a party that was losing relevance after Obama, when Hillary was running. Hillary was a horrible candidate, but I think a lot of people thought that, well, it's her turn, and that's kind of how things had always worked. And she didn't have to campaign so hard since she didn't appeal to anyone when she was out there. But everyone was stunned when she lost, and especially to Trump. I mean, look at that guy. I love Trump. I like a business acumen in that office. As a person, I don't care for him, but that doesn't matter. He's not sitting in my living room. He's running the operation. He's steering the ship. He's good at doing stuff like that. He's been running big ships for quite a while, and regardless of all the tabloid nonsense, he really has been extremely successful. If you just take the basic, obvious examples, the guy made a ton of money in real estate in a tough market. New York's a tough market. Did he go bankrupt a few times? Yes. Most people in that business went bankrupt a few times. Back in the 90s, late 80s, it was tough. That's just how it was, especially in Atlantic City. Everyone went bankrupt. Did he not pay contractors? Yep, absolutely. It's tough business. That happens a lot. But he made it. However, very few people make it like that. Then he got into television. You know, I was not a big fan. I didn't watch his shows or any of that stuff. But he was very successful in that. He's done a lot of things. He had an airline. He's had his winery, his steaks. Some stuff made it, most of it didn't. But that's business. You're just constantly trying things. And then he decided to run for the highest office in the land, and he landed it. That's no small feat. That is, you're competing against the meanest people out there. There's nothing meaner in politics because that's where all the big money and all the power sits, right? So, anyway, there's this guy that came in under the premise that I'm going to straighten things back up to the way they work best. I'm going to go back to our old model where government is, hey, business, we're here for you. How can we help? Because for decades, and I can tell you this from personal experience, it's been you run up against the government. They're all the time. Well, you got to be inspected by this. You got to pay this fee. You've got this. Well, you can't quite. Oh, you're expected to. There's nothing but no. Every time you try to do something, no is what government does. Why? Wouldn't you want more people being successful paying into the tax coffers? Because especially now that they've generated close to $26 trillion of debt, just an impossible number to even wrap your mind around. So, anyway, here we fall into Trump as president. The powers that be suddenly not the powers that be. And all the plans that I guess had been formed up for years by these folks that are kind of quietly working in the background, writing their fiction, are destroyed because Trump is not interested in going down that path. He wants to shrink the size of the government. He wants to go back to the old principles that aren't complicated, that don't take 2 million people to run. And you can imagine how upset people became that had, banked on this. I mean, not just the people that work in the government, but the people who pay the people on the side. Washington, D.C. is a huge economy. They don't make anything other than bull. But, those folks depend on this machine to run. They depend on that science fiction, that let's just keep pushing these ideas, these concepts that don't work, but we like them, and they populate this place with people that feel just like us. So we find ourselves in an election year, and the science fiction just gets deeper. Again, there's a president that's done a pretty darn good job. I had the economy at its best ever. Every category, was improved in business. I mean, every group of people were seeing better employment numbers, less unemployment checks, all that. So everything was in the positive. Then, this weird science fiction virus comes along. Now, it's real, obviously, we know. I mean, God, it has killed people. And it's, from all reports, it's horrible. I honestly believe I had it. What I had was bad. I don't want to get it again. I don't want you to have it. But the fact is that very few people will even know they had it. For the people that know they had it, they'll probably get over it just fine. And now they have a lot of good ways of treating it. But, again, it's science fiction, so instead of telling you that good news, right? Instead of building on, here's the good stuff, nope, we got to give you bad news. Like, oh, wow, we're finding more and more people are infected. Well, he told us in the beginning we'd all be infected with this thing, and we got to have this and that and the other thing. But we don't have nearly as many people sick as what they told us. That Professor Ferguson, right, who's always wildly off base. I mean, why do we listen to that guy, right? This is the third or fourth time he's run his model, his old Fortran computer model, that it's like nobody can even make it replicate the same numbers, but it doesn't matter. You just have to listen to him because he's just an outstanding weird person. Um, but again, it's writers of fiction that scare the crap out of people that don't have a happy ending. Unless maybe we went the way of socialism. I don't get it. But as an example, you will comply. You will wear your mask. Okay, I understand. I've heard all the arguments. I know. And I will wear it in places where I'm required if I've got to go in there, the grocery store or something. Because people downright freak out. I mean, you've seen it. You've seen people, posting these things. Oh my God, he's not wearing a mask. Look at the TV, okay? Look at all the people in China. They're all wearing masks. Sicker than hell. That's where it came from. Europe, New York, the whole time. New Yorkers, they're all wearing masks. Unless they're out there burning stuff down, but never mind. Sicker than hell. Hasn't stopped it, okay? No. Personally, I think, just hear me out on this for 1 second. I think the best idea would be the people who wear masks are the people who are getting over the illness. Now, if I had it, I'll tell you this. It was a good week. I didn't want to do a damn thing. I didn't want to see anybody. I felt like crap. It took easily over a month to really get over the ache. I had stuff to do, so after a couple weeks, I just got out there and really just kept chugging away. But it's tough. So, but so you got to go out, get food, do whatever. Those are the people. If you see somebody wearing a mask, then that's somebody that's getting over the sickness. Give them some room, give them some understanding. I don't think there's anybody that would have a problem with understanding that, like we always used to do every time there was a flu. Man, when people get it, give them some space. For the older folks who are susceptible, don't go there. And we've done that, right? We've closed up the retirement homes, and we've been doing a good job at that. The social distancing thing, okay. I mean, that kind of makes a little bit of sense. But closing yourself off in your house doesn't make any sense. I mean, it doesn't. That's a horrible thing to do for a bunch of reasons. You can't hide from a virus. I mean, people hiding in their house wearing masks and stuff outside get it anyway. It's a virus. It gets around. If you're susceptible and you're in the right place, the right time, sorry, you're going to get it. Like every year. And this is not shaping up to be much worse, not much worse, than your standard virus. And we've got others coming, right? We're already warned. There's another one coming. Good. It's a SARS one this time or something. But these are, variations on the same old theme. And the only way we can really deal with it is build up immunities. And, the amazing thing about this one is kids seem to build up their immunities very well. They don't get very sick, if they get sick at all. And, in the background, they're sort of like accepting this disease, and it's not affecting them. And that seems to happen to people, right up to even in their 50s. I mean, people will get sick. If you're really around it, you're going to get sick. It's a virus. But casually, it's, it doesn't seem to be a big deal, especially for the younger people. So by God, get them back in school. Get people back to work, and get the damn masks off their face. I mean, God, what a horrible way to go through your day if work didn't suck enough. It's asking a lot. And again, I get to the science fiction thing. You're asking a lot. You're asking people to buy into this being that bad new reality, right? You hear that. It's like Obama used to say that too, the new normal. And you're hearing that with all this, like, just sort of like after 9/11, where we all of a sudden now you have to get like practically strip search to get on a damn airplane. Like that ever did any good. I'm sure there's some residue of this they're going to want to stay in place. And I'm sick of that kind of science fiction bull. No, that's not what got us here. Not all falling in line with ridiculous requests. It's like, look, if you want me to do something, give me a reasonable argument. Show me that this is worth your consideration and it's well reasoned and we thought this through. But I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing science fiction. I'm seeing people telling me, oh, you should be really afraid of this, and it's not that bad. Like so much. But maybe that's what we get. You know, we've accepted this over and over again, and we keep buying tickets to that same movie that shows us, well, we have to reach the bottom before we can climb our way back up to be worthy, to be welcome to the stars. Please, we've done a lot. We're doing a lot. It would be really nice if we could knock all this nonsense out of our way and just proceed to making things better and better. Because we've been doing that up until recently. And then all this weird science fiction has to get in the way. Like, no. Be distracted by this. Be distracted by, oh, racism. It's like, man, I thought we really dealt with that in the 60s. But I have to bring it up again, like, oh, this has been a huge problem. Well, I get that there's issues, especially inner city. I get it. But I don't think it's so much to do with racism as this science fiction. As in, you've got leaders in these big cities telling you a story, but that's it. They don't deliver. It's like, here's your scary story and here's your good story, and which one would you like? Oh, you like the good story. I thought so. Vote for me. You'll get it. No, because I don't know. They want to. Why? What is the mission? You know, it's like they make the very wealthy people in the big cities happy to some degree, and they feed government cheese to the poor. They drive away the middle class, and now with this newest science fiction, now you have to make the wealthy people upset by allowing people to go nuts downtown and loot and destroy. For what reason? Why are people allowed to do this kind of stuff? I mean, it's science fiction. It's like Clockwork Orange or something. It's people aren't doing what they're supposed to do. It's like this alternate reality. I talked about that already. But we don't have to accept that. We're not supposed to accept that. That is not what was promised to us. When you buy a ticket to a movie, you go in to be entertained. But when you become part of a nation, you're looking for something outside of entertainment and story time. You're looking for forward progress. You're looking for security, safety. You're looking for an environment where you feel like you can do your best, try your hardest, and maybe get somewhere. Maybe you're one of those rare people that really reaches the top. But this is the one place where you can do that. So let's leave science fiction in the movie theater. Or the one day when we can go into a movie theater. And let's get back to reality, which hopefully will take us somewhere we haven't been yet. I'll take that. Anyway, thanks for listening. Have a great day.